I'm going to show you Migopos Wall Builder, and if you haven't installed it yet, you first need to install it. You do so by going to Edit, Preferences, and then you go to Add-ons, and I've got it already installed here, but I'm going to show you where to install it. You can click here on Add-ons Settings, and then click on Install from Disk. And then you can search for your file and install from disk. And then it's installed and you can see it in the list. If you're ready, then you close this window. And now you can see the add-on because it's hidden. The way you can show your add-on is by clicking here on this small arrow, or you can hit the N key on your keyboard. I'm going to click here on this arrow. And then we can see all kinds of tabs. There are more tabs here in my version of Blender than in yours perhaps, but here we've got Migopos Wall, and this is the add-on. So if we click on it with the left mouse button, then we can see all the settings. It's good to have it expand a little bit more so you can read the text better. I did it by clicking here. If it changes the cursor, clicking and dragging and releasing the left mouse button. What I also like to do is to delete everything in the scene so I can work on a clean scene. I do so by clicking outside the cube, pressing the key A. It selects everything. And then pressing the delete key, and now everything is gone. The way you start using Migopos Wall Builder is by giving your wall a name. So I'm going to give one, and this one is just test. Okay, so here you type in the name and then you click on building plan, and it automatically brings you into user orthographic view. It's a top view, and you can see it already generated this curve. It's actually a polyline, I think, and you can use this to start to build your own building plan for your house or for your wall. And the way you do so, and you need to have this tool selected, so be aware that this needs to be blue, so it means it's selected. Then you just can click just outside here these points, click and drag and release the mouse button, and then you've got something selected. If you click outside, it's deselected, and so you can select all of these three. But for here, I just want you to select one, and then we're going to press the E key on your keyboard. Or if you forget this, there's also here a way of doing things the easy way, using plan settings. If you click on it, if I'm not incorrect, yeah, we've got an extrude button here. And if you click on it, then you can automatically expand this curve. So let's say we're going to place it here. It's even easier. You can use snapping tools. So if you enable snapping, you can set the amount of snapping, and here we can have this one selected again. If you press the G key on your keyboard, and there's currently no button for it here, or you can just use, let me see, transform. If you use transform like so, you can now see, oh wait, it's the middle circle, yeah, that you can snap to the grid. But if we just use this, have it selected and press the G key on your keyboard, you can also just move it around and it snaps. Okay, so let's place this one, for example, here, and then press E again, or hit this button, and we're going to move it up, and another one, E. I'm going to build quite quickly a simple building plan, and this building plan is way too small, because like this distance is only 2 meters, And I'm going to show you something else. Now we've created this curve, but we want a closed curve for our walls. So we can do so by clicking here, closed. And it will close this line. We can select this one again, and I'm going to put it over here. You can also add a backdrop item. First you need to select it. You can click here on this folder icon, and then you can navigate to your picture, the image of your backdrop, and then you can set opacity, and you can also set the import backdrop, which is very important. This imports your backdrop item. So then you can have a reference below. Now I'm going to close the plan settings, and let's continue in the list here. Let's see. We have very many settings for our wall, but it's very important to hit generate or apply wall all the time if you change any of the settings. So this is a super important button, and you need to go back to it all the time. If I hit it, then you can see it takes a little while and it generates a wall. And now navigation, here the navigation icons. If you click in between, so let's say in the gray area around those X, Y, Z buttons, then and you click and drag, then you can actually move around. You can click on the hand and drag, and then it pans, or on a magnifying glass, then it will zoom in and out. So that's an easy way of navigating through your scene. If you click on the XYZ, then you got a projection from that side. Now you can see it created a nice wall. It's a zigzag pattern, and the zigzag pattern usually, not always, continues through the corners. But there are many settings here for the wall. So if you click on wall settings here, you can see them. One very interesting one is show bricks. It hides bricks, so that's very convenient. Also show mortar. Later on we're going to create mortar, so if you, for example, want to see something behind. Layers, this is also super important. This is the number of layers of bricks. So currently we've got a very shallow wall, and usually you would set it to about 30. So now I did set it to 30, and I'm going to regenerate this wall, and you can see now it's a higher wall. This will be about one store high, perhaps even a little bit too small. A little bit higher might also be okay. You can see how the bricks go through the corners of our wall. And here this wall, this corner hasn't been done the way it should. Well, sometimes it's just impossible for the script to do it completely perfect. You can see there are all joints in between the bricks. So currently there's just empty space in between. Here it created a very tiny brick, which is okay. And well, there are many settings here. We can, for example, set the wall depth, the vertical joint size. So this is the space in between the bricks. And well, you can also change here. This is a protrude every end stone. So for every layer, currently every end stone will be protruded. You can set settings for all layers at once, but if you disable this, you get settings for each individual layer. First layer is 0, and so in this case the last one is 29. So let's choose the most top one, the layer 29 here. And here I'm going to change some of the settings. I'm going to change the length of each brick to 0.1. And of course we did change something, so it's not visible yet. So we need to go up and generate or apply wall. Now I can see it did create all small bricks on top. And I also see it has a bit of problems here on the corner. Usually you could fix this using the joints, because now it's set to uniform joint mode, but you can also set it to random. And if you do so, it will generate random. Oh wait, it's a mistake. I did generate a roof instead of generating a wall. This can happen. I did undo using edit and undo. In this case, the joint randomness didn't really help, so this is just a different problem. A problem I need to fix later on. Then I'm going to put it back to uniform for now, and I'm going to show you something new. There's a link from a blend file. So here for these bricks, you can also change these bricks to a different object. And you do so by clicking on link from blend. I added a brick1.blend file, and it contains an object called brick1. So if you lead Blender to this file, then you can link it. It's linked already. You can see it in the items list there. And now you still need to link it by pressing the plus button there. I'm not quite sure what I did want to do here. Perhaps I wanted to tell you that, you can choose different layers and have different objects and settings for each layer. Okay, so here we've got our brick 1 in the list. We're going to hit a plus, and then we can click there and choose, or just use the eyedropper and click here in the items list on the correct object, which we did do now. And the nice thing about this this file is that you can use random texture with it. If you hit random texture, it lets you choose between vertical or horizontal columns. And in the file for the brick texture, we've got horizontal ones. And you can change the pattern. So what it does, it will swap the columns on the texture. But basically what it does, it will generate different versions, different types of brick look. And with the randomness, every brick looks different. So now we're going to generate or apply wall. Now it takes a lot of time to compute. If it's blue, the button, then it's computing, so you need to wait. And I can see everything is white. This is not the original texture of the brick, because, well, you can only see it in shading mode. And, well, this is not very convenient if you switch forward and forward. I'm not quite sure how it's called. Anyway, you lose your add-on. So an easier way is to use the preview render button here in the add-on. For now, you need to zoom out a little bit because it's the preview render is zooming in, and I can see how it would look like. Yeah, so the standard stones are just plain color material, and your bricks have now a texture. And you can change the pattern to something else, and then For now, I'm going to set the layers to a lower number to generate faster, because I just want to show you things and not let you wait extremely long. Still, it takes quite a long time. And well, it's gone, and the reason why it's gone, because well, we set the number of layers to a lower value, so our layer 29 doesn't exist anymore. So now we just going to do the whole process again. We don't have to link because it's already linked, it's in the list. You can choose it and set random texture, and now set it to 2 and generate or apply wall again. And there it is, and preview render. And now we've got a dark texture for our bricks. And there are way more settings available here for all of these layers. And when it's generating now, I can also say there's also curve options, which I'm not going to show you here. But there you can also create spiral walls. I did change it back to a different color, so this one isn't that dark. Not quite sure what I wanted here. Yeah, very important to close the menus if you don't use them. If you want to add doors or windows, we do so under openings and enable cut opening, then choose one of the presets. I'm going to use round arch here. And then you can change the settings for it, because the wall is so very low. We need to make a very tiny door here. And well, door, if you just want an opening in the wall, that's also okay. If I hit create cutter object, it will create a cutter object for me. And now I can move it, and if I move it, it moves along the edge, which is something I need to fix, because well, you can't move it up and down, which I'll have a problem with later on. And somehow the follow wall shape checkbox doesn't quite work, because if you disable it, it still is snapping to the edge. What you can see here is that the cutter object is lower than your wall, and I did this on purpose, because if you place it on exact ground level, the cut on the bottom will not be perfect. So what you could do is change the position of it after the add-on is fixed, of course, and then you can move it up a little bit so it's just below the ground level, and then well, things will be a lot easier for you. So here it doesn't work because well, snapping is enabled. Would have just also disable snapping, but well, that's for a different video. So what I'm going to do now is just going to use this object and to use it as a cutter. So I need to have it selected, and oh no, it did. So you have got it selected, and then hit plus key, not key, button, and then it's added to the list. Now if you do generate wall again, then it's gone, because it will cut a hole. And so before you do this, you can also hit add shape. Add shape will leave a shape where the cutter object is. You can see it vaguely over there. It's a black line surrounding this this arch. Okay, so now we're going to generate or apply wall. And there it is. There's a nice cut in our wall. And there is the cutter object, the cutter shape that we created. And this we can use for multiple purposes, for windows, for doors, for anything you actually like. Here we're going to use it for a door. So I'm going, well, here selecting it doesn't really help, but so what you do is use the eyedropper to select your shape. If you've got difficulties finding it, you can also hide the walls. The buttons I still need to add here to doors and windows. And if you just generate doors, hit that button, then it generates a door. Here it is a silly door because, well, it's super tiny, but the handle is still very big. And the same way you can create windows. You can change all the settings, of course, for the door to make it for your liking or whatever. I'm going to undo several times here. You can see undo and redo in the menu of Blender itself. Let's see, what did I want to tell here? I'm not sure. Yeah, you can also use it to create tunnels. I'm not sure if I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to look for the tunnels here. And there's so many settings, so I did something very bad. I didn't close the menu, so I do it now. And it's underneath openings. You scroll down a bit, and there you've got tunnel pairs. So hit add pair, and now, well, we've got it selected, so it added it already. And then you need to add another one. So if you've got, for example, this shape on the opposite wall, they can just hit build tunnel. Currently on the date of today, this script isn't working correctly, but later on I hope it will work, and then you can create nice tunnels. Then of course there needs to be something in between the bricks, so you can enable mortar, and if you do so, you need to regenerate the wall. And there it is. Now you can see there's something in between all of the bricks. And you can also weld to one object. And to show you better, I first need to hide the bricks, then you can see the mortar. If you don't have a weld to object enabled, weld to one object, then you've got all these mortar bricks. So I'm going to regenerate, and this is going to cost a lot of time because there are so many mortar bricks. And in the meantime, I can also tell you that it's possible to change some of the mortar settings as well. As you can see, there are many settings here, and here it's one closed mortar object. You can see the script messed up a little bit on the corners. That's something you would need to fix. So it's important to check everything before you, well, tell it's the final version. And hiding bricks or mortar helps to find errors easier. Then we've got our quoins. If you enable them, they automatically become created at corners. So we need to regenerate them, which will take, again, a very long time. And currently the quoins are just like visuals on the corners. If they're not on the corners, they're real blocks, but here on the corners now they're just like strips. And here I can see the top one made a problem because, well, it's possible that it can't create a quoin that big. That's something I need to fix. Then if you disable only at corners, then you can select bricks and well, then hit the select stones to quoins button, and if you regenerate, then there will be a quoin right where your brick was. You can see it over there. So this is a way of quickly creating nice big blocks in your wall. Profile top isn't working correctly, but I can show you how it works. So, not sure why I didn't hit that button yet, or that menu. I decided to delete everything and start a new building plan. So I'm going to set this one to test 2, and then building plan, and I'm going to just create a simpler shape. So, and generate or apply wall. There it is. You can also see that it generated a nice wall there in when there's a big angle in the wall. If it's a super big angle, the system well has problems with it, and then it will just create a meter and not a zigzag pattern. Okay, so that is what I wanted to show you here. Then we go to the profile top, and we can set it to a point. And here's an option to select the edge that you want to add, but I didn't test it that much, and here I mess up. So what you also can do is just enter a number for the segments. The first segment is going to be segment 0, and then the second segment 1, and so on. 0 starts from the starting point of your curve. So in this case, I know it's going to be segment 0. I'm just going to add it. If you want multiple segments, you just need to place a comma in between the numbers. So it's a 0, comma. Well, perhaps it's called different in English, by the way. But anyway, that's the way to add multiple segments. Now here we're going to set a layer, because now it's from the very first layer. I'm going to set it to layer 2 to show you how that works. Generate or apply wall will now create a slope instead of a point. And I also see it has some trouble in the corners. And what we can do now is we can trim other. So the other walls will be trimmed until the point where the wall is getting steep. This way you can create like this pointed walls with roof covering it, but well, it still needs to work in 2 ways. So it needs to create a point and not a slope. Then we've also got the stone actions. So these are actions for individual stones. You can select multiple stones and hit that small button, and then here you can set the action and the amount. So in this case, I'm going to set it to protrude 0.05 meters. If I do so, it's going to work, but it's going to work on the wrong side. So I'm going to swap it. Set it to inner now, and somehow inner is outer and outer is inner. And here you can see that it did protrude. So this is an easy way of letting individual stones protrude. You can also set them to quoins or remove them. And from what I know, if you remove a brick, it also has influence on the mortar, which is gone at that specific place. You can reset wall settings. If you hit a reset wall setting, I just did so, then you can start with fresh settings. And here I'm going to show you the tile. If you go to Tile menu and enable Tile Layer On, then regenerate, then it will create tiles on the wall. From what I know, you can also choose the segments for the tiles. You can change the height and so on. So this would also be an easy way of creating, for example, plaster strips by creating very high tiles and broad ones. And then you can also link them with your own objects. Then you can link them, for example, to your own plaster work objects. And also tiles, of course, you can import tiles with nice textures and shapes. It's all possible. And to reset these settings, let's continue in the list. So I think most things already talked about, only the roof. And roof is of course very important. You've got two sets of roofs. One is a flat roof and one is the default roof, which is currently a point roof, but I really want it to be a saddle roof. I'm not quite sure if it's called like that. Anyway, not sure why I'm not doing anything here now. Yeah, so generate roof. We're first going to generate a flat roof. Hit that button. Oh yeah, here it has an error because it doesn't know what kind of curve to use. And just above you can see the curves, and then we're going to select test 2 and then generate flat roof again. And now it works. Now we've created a flat roof on top of our building. I'm going to undo here, and then I'm going to show you the other type of roof. So if we zoom out a bit, you can see here the construction of the roof. And we've got two buttons, approve or reject or edit. And if you hit the reject edit button, then you can actually edit these lines. And well, sometimes the add-on makes some mistakes and you've got a broken roof, then you can fix it this way. And it's also possible here to add extras to the roof. For example, we've got dormers, and we've got skylights and chimneys, custom cuts in the roof. Let's show you how a dormer works. So here you select roof edge button, yes, and here you click on one of the edges of your roof, the outer edges of your roof, and then change the settings, add dormer. Here we can see it's too big because it's overlapping well the separation lines of our surface. So I'm going to make a smaller one, half of a meter, 1 meter, yeah, 1 meter, and hit add dormer again, and you can see it's smaller, it fits better. We can also move it with the G, and it snaps to that edge. Okay, place it here, and now if you hit approve, then it will generate the roof and also the dormer, but as you can see it's still under construction because it created a dormer below the roof. And it creates all kinds of segments. So for example, the roof itself, it has a surface, but it's also a construction object. And if you want to use roof cladding, you need to use the surface one. So the upper one. I'm going to undo here because I just want to generate the roof without any additional things to it. And Yeah, here I'm just telling exactly the same that I was telling you just before. 2 objects created here, and for the dormer, I think 4. Now we select the upper one, and then if we hit the clad surface roof cladding button, then you can see it created the roof tiles. And here below you've got roof cladding settings. You can also change the settings for it and add your own custom roof tiles objects to it. And yes, you can also see there's an object on the top and on the ends, so for different kinds of objects there. There's also objects on roof endings. And yeah, that's it. And so the thing I said before was you've got also the options for curve shape. Yeah, curve shape. There are options to make a spiral wall.